GM Generates, welcome to day 2 in the Sport Castle. My name's Lauren Halstead from Mojito. Super excited to be here. Been coming to ETHDenver for many, many years. Went to college here, so it's always a fun reunion to be back in Denver. I hope everybody's enjoying the great weather. Super sunny this year. Hope everybody's recovering from last night if you partied and got great swag out in the main hall. Excited about today, many great talks this morning. So I want to start it off with the future of institutional crypto market and ETH ETFs. Handing it over to Chen from BitGo. Welcome, Chen.
Hello, good morning. Great to be here. My name is Chen. I am the Chief Revenue Officer at BitGo. Quick 30 seconds about me. I've been in crypto for a long time. Started mining Bitcoin December of 2012. Was pretty early in Ethereum as well, but got distracted because I was working for one of David Sachs's companies way back then. 2017, started my own company, went full-time into digital assets. 2020, that company merged with BitGo, and I've been at BitGo ever since. Really quickly about BitGo, we are one of the world's largest institutional digital asset infrastructure providers on Earth. We work with a number of large fintechs. We work with a number of large banks and traditional finance institutions and governments around the world as well. We do everything under the sun. Custody, trade, finance, this is margin, borrow, lend, etc. We do settlement, we do collateral management, everything that you can think of, we do. We also work with a number of folks here at ETHDenver. The protocols, the foundations, all of them use us for token management, token investing, etc. So lots of good stuff. In terms of today's kickoff, we're going to first talk about institutional adoption and exactly where things are, where things stand today. I will talk a little bit about what more we can do to bring more institutions into the space. And I have 30 seconds at the very end. This is my own version of my market outlook, per se. I'm not sure how many of you were up late partying or the other of us who were glued to our phones looking at the price movements last night. But man, oh man, it's been a wild 24 hours. All right, let's get started with institutional adoption and the current status quo. So if you think about where we were a year ago and compare that to the current state of things, things have improved quite a bit after President Trump arrived in office. A year back, on the SEC front, under Gary's regime, it was pretty rough, right? It was regulation by enforcement. What does that mean? It basically means that instead of providing super clear rules about how things should work, clear laws, clear frameworks, the many companies inside of our space, all they got were notices, letters, lawsuits. We're talking about hundreds of these things filed by that regulator against all of these different types of companies inside of our space. On the other end of the spectrum, right, on the banking side, the Fed, the OCC, right, the FDIC, these regulatory bodies on the banking side, they were sending these notes, these hidden memos to all the banks, whether large or small, the credit unions, all the way up to the largest banks, warning them about the dangers of digital assets, why this asset class isn't ready for mass adoption. And guess what? Those banks complied. A number of large companies inside this space got squeezed from a bank perspective, meaning our bank account access got cut off. Some of the banks even went under as part of that process. So it was pretty rough. Well, guess what? Both on the SEC front and on the banking front, things have become a lot better. Right? If you look at what happened over the last even 48 hours, Gemini's lawsuit, the SEC lawsuit against Gemini was dropped. The SEC's lawsuit against Consensus, right, who is the parent company behind MetaMask, was also dropped. I think things are just getting started and it's going to get a lot better. From the institutional adoption side, just talking to all these banks, similar story, right? If you think about how things looked over a year ago. You had these small pockets of folks inside these large companies, right? We're talking the largest banks in the world, promoting this idea of adding digital assets as another asset class that the banks can interact with. Well, guess what? Most of these small pockets of evangelists within these large banks, they weren't seeing much traction. We're seeing changes. We're talking to basically everybody inside of traditional finance right now, and there's movement. There's definitely movement. Furthermore, from a SAB 121 perspective, this was literally a way of using accounting rules to lock things down. The publicly traded companies, due to SAB 121, basically had handcuffs on. They could not add this asset class as part of their portfolio of assets that they support due to accounting rules. How mind-blowing is that? Guess what? SAB 121, after Trump took office, has been repealed, replaced with SAB 122. Things are opening up. Very excited. Quick note about ETFs specifically. The Bitcoin ETF was introduced January of 2024. The Ethereum ETF was introduced May of 2024. Both have seen quite a bit of adoption. Using Bitcoin as a benchmark, so if you look at what the numbers from the last 24 hours, the last 48 hours, the total percentage of Bitcoin market cap inside of ETFs is around 9%, which is actually a massive number, right? Same goes for the 24-hour daily trading volume. It's around there as well, between 6 to 9%. Over on the Ethereum side, it's about 2.5% and 2.5%. So using Bitcoin as a benchmark, I think there's definitely more room to grow from the Ethereum perspective. All right, switching gears. Let's talk about what additional things we can do to open our arms to additional institutional adoption and additional institutional capital. The first thing I want to talk about here is market structure, right? There's a reason why TradFi is complicated. There's a reason. And fundamentally, it's designed to protect the end consumers. If you think about selling a share of NVIDIA, selling a share of Amazon, these traditional securities in the traditional markets, what is actually happening under the hood? How many companies, quote unquote, are involved in that process? The answer is it's actually pretty complicated, and there's a bunch of companies involved. You as an end consumer do not simply create an account at an exchange, right? If you go to NASDAQ and say, hello, NASDAQ, can I get an exchange account, please? The answer is like, no. Who are you? What you do is you work with brokers. You work with Robinhood. You work with Fidelity, right? You have your own broker. These brokers have their own custodians. Those custodians have clearing mechanisms underneath. There's a slew of exchanges in the middle, and on the other side, whether you're buying or selling, there's another broker, there's another custodian, right? There's a whole swath of these companies in the middle, each specializing in what they do best to protect your trades and your assets. If you think about crypto, what do we have? We have one exchange in the middle. You sign up for, let's say, Coinbase as an example. Coinbase is basically all of those companies bundled into one, right? And if there was one thing that we do to introduce better market structures so that these large traditional finance companies trust crypto and trust digital assets, is to do a simple thing. Let's separate the roles and responsibilities between an exchange and a custodian. At the very least, let's do that separation to protect the customers, right? Or at the very least, if you're an exchange, please stop putting hundreds of millions, if not billions, of your client funds on ledgers, on consumer-grade hardware, right? And losing it. I'm talking about the Bybit hack from last week, right? If you are a traditional finance institution and you're wandering around this space and you see this headline, crypto exchange loses $1.4 billion. Does that give you confidence to move in money? Of course it doesn't give you confidence. So this concept of better market structure needs to be introduced in crypto. The other thing on the far other end of the spectrum is DeFi. So why are we all here? Why do we believe in Ethereum? It's because we believe in some of these fundamental DeFi concepts. Using Coinbase again as another benchmark, right? Think about trade volumes during the last bull run for Coinbase versus trade volumes in this bull run for Coinbase. If you look at the numbers that were published in their quarterly reports, the trade volumes are actually back up to where we were, right? Back in the last bull run, which is awesome. But if you double click into the numbers, it's actually very interesting. The percentage of retail trades and retail volume was far less than the last bull run, far less. The vast majority of this run-up for Coinbase specifically is on the institutional side, which means the institutions are for sure getting in. But the question is, where did all the retail folks go? The answer is, if you, again, look on chain, the retail folks went directly to the decentralized applications, which is something that all of us here should be very, very proud about. Seriously, the thesis that we had for many, many years is indeed coming true. The scalability concerns we had around decentralized applications is being resolved. DeFi works, and frankly, Coinbase is pretty scared about this. This is why they're investing so heavily in Base. How do we apply these same DeFi concepts for institutions and bring institutions directly into DeFi? I think that is a good question that all of us should think about. And if we're able to unlock that, we're talking about massive amounts of volumes and capital coming directly on-chain. All right, last bit in terms of my outlook for 2025. Again, last night was pretty rough. I was awake till the wee hours of the morning doing a bunch of things for various customers. I do think there's going to be a bit more short-term contraction, choppy waters for the next couple of weeks, next couple of months. But fundamentally, I think we are at the beginnings, the first couple of innings of this baseball game, right? Trump just got to the White House. We have over 3.5 years plus left to go. I do think medium to long term, we're going to see things rebound, and hopefully we'll hit all-time highs in the next couple of years. Overall, I think the crypto markets are open, the capital markets are open. Trump is in the White House, and he's appointing all sorts of really pro-crypto folks in various places. So that being said, I'm very excited about the years to come. Let's go. Thanks, guys.